don't know what you're saying, but if it's my job you're talking about, I think I just do it the way that it comes with me. And that way was more like patternless pattern. I don't know how to follow the normal structure of administration.
Okay, I think we're live, and I'd like to say good morning, and good afternoon, and good evening, and good day to wherever you are in this big, wide, wonderful world. My name is Pete Miller from Speakers Coach, and thank you for joining us as we pay respects to Richie Dayo Johnson, also known as RDJ. We're going to try and capture some of that magic of this gentleman, known as one of Nigeria's greatest keynote speakers and MCs. And he only spoke on this same platform just 2 weeks ago at the New Normal seminar. And it was at that seminar, the next day, he tragically had a heart attack and passed away, much to the shock of everybody. During RDJ's keynote, during that New Normal seminar, the words he said, the last words he said were very prophetic, very profound. And he said, whatever we do for ourselves, we take to the grave. And whatever we do for someone else, we leave with them. And he has left a lot with a lot of people. And that's what we're going to try and do today, to try and capture some of that magic. And we have 3 speakers today, and they've all been mentored by RDJ. And so it's really an opportune time to, because there's actually not a lot of information or videos or anything about RDJ out there. So we thought that we put this together as a memory, as a tribute, and as a way for future generations to look and see, learn about this man. We have Joyce Daniels, we have Raymond Osuji and Gina London waiting to speak to us. And after they have spoken and told us about their memories of RDJ, we're going to have a Q&A. So make sure that you have your questions and answers, their comments, put it in YouTube Live and Facebook. And we'll do our best to answer them. Also, if you have your own experience of RDJ, if he mentored you or he spoke to you or he helped you in some way, please put that in the comments. We'd love to hear that. Okay. So let's begin now with the lady who produced the New Normal seminar. And she told me that the first person, there was actually quite a few people on this, I think there was 7 presenters. And the first person who she called was RDJ himself, because she wanted him to be on. Thank goodness he said yes. She's authored 2 best-selling books, one called Mastery, and the other one is called Before You Speak, Read This. And it's a good title. And she's well known in Nigeria for her sublime event host MC skills and her awesome training program called Talk Academy. And if you're looking for someone to model yourself, whether you're a guy or a girl, and you're looking for someone to model your own career, your own public speaking and presentation and communication career on, then Joyce Daniels is a very good example to model yourself on. And I'm going to welcome her to the studio now. Hello, Joyce.
Hello, Pete. Thank you, Pete. You're such a darling. Thank you for putting this together to honor RDJ. It means so much. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, well, like I said, the day I heard about it, straight after the seminar, I Googled him. I thought, there's just not a lot of information out there. And it seems a shame because these days everyone's a content creator and everyone's sort of creating content nearly every day. But he seemed to be old style sort of and preferred the live recording. Yeah. So we're gonna kind of make sure there's some recorded today. Now I'm going to share my screen here. Where is my share my screen? Okay, hang on. We got that. There we are. And we're going to go to there. Can you see that picture there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, right. So
Oh,
that's
gosh,
you
yes,
and
I do.
RDJ together.
Yes.
And you're looking very swish. I must say that every speaker in Africa I've ever seen, they're always really well turned out. You guys have a real culture of dressing well, and I wish the rest of the world followed your example. Because I've never seen an untidy African presenter ever, and in Australia, in Australia, I complained about it because they have this thing about. You have a jacket and a suit, but they take the tie off. I said, it's not supposed to be like that. The jacket is designed to have a tie. Put your tie on. Anyway, you guys look fantastic. And what about this one here? So that was in the foyer, and this is the same program. I think you are emceeing there together, right? It was a, okay. So you did. What was it? An awards night, was it?
It was a conference, an oil and gas conference. It was the Oil Trade Expo, African Downstream Week last year, 2019. And we worked together all 3 days.
Right.
And that was his retirement event.
Oh,
retirement
wow.
from being a Master of Ceremonies and Event Host MC.
Oh, wow.
So at the closing cocktail, we had a closing cocktail. He announced to the audience that was his final event, and it was such a surreal moment for everybody. He had told me before that day, but then he made this public announcement and said, look, I've been on this for 40 years. I have other things I want to do, and I'm not going to be on the microphone in this capacity anymore. So that was a very significant event for him and for me, because it's not every day you meet someone who just believes in you so much, sometimes maybe even more than you believe in yourself, which is what he did to me and for me. But I'm going to let you go on with
No, I mean that's all you need. I had someone who believed in me, and he was my mentor, and I wouldn't be here speaking to you right now if it wasn't for that person. And I encourage everyone to look for a mentor, or even just to find someone who believes in you. And it means so much, because we can believe in ourselves. We can do it till the cows come home. But if someone else does it, that's kind of a vindication of all the stuff you've been telling yourself. Anyway.
Yeah.
So look, I'm going to leave you to talk to the many people out there who have subscribed and are watching this live, and thank you for your contribution.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay.
Thank you, Pete, for taking this on.
No problem. I think it's just a bit of giving back. Really, the industry's been very kind to me. I've travelled all around the world. I've met some amazing people. I'm still meeting amazing people, like you and the other presenters here today. And for me, I think we've stepped into a new normal. These virtual conferences are the way that things are just going to go from here on, I think. Yeah.
If you would please leave that picture on. I want to make a point about that picture.
Okay, I will.
For a little bit.
Okay.
So,
which one? You want this one?
The one the next one. The next one.
Okay, all right, that one.
Yes, this one. So if you notice the watch I'm wearing in that picture, it's just a plain old nice watch that tells the time, right?
I did notice that actually.
We got back to our seats that day, and our DJ said to me, Joyce, why aren't you using a smartwatch? And I say, well, I haven't really thought about it intentionally, because I have a fit life. I was just going on. And he said, well, you need one. And it's not just, of course, to tell the time. In fact, you need it least to tell the time. You need it to help you count your steps, do this, do that. He kept reeling. I knew some of these things, but hearing them from him. And he said, I'm going to show you something I do with my watch in presenting. So when we were done that day, myself and a few other people, he took us up to his room. and he connected his phone with a cable to his TV and started clicking some things on his watch, and then his slides came up on the TV. He was changing slides, changing movements using his watch.
Wow. Okay.
And he said, Joyce,
Wow.
in this day and age, you don't need to carry your laptop and your this and that to go for a consulting event. You just need to put the slides on your phone, have your what cable is that now? What's this cable called? Anyway, that cable, and then have your watch. So you see, you can do so much more with this than just tell time. Believe you me, within 3 weeks, I had gotten myself a very lovely smartwatch. He went further to research the watches, and he would send me links. He sent me at least 6 links, and he said, I would also teach you how to get somebody to pay for the watch. And I go, how? He says, a client. You tag it and you tag it to a particular event and say, this is the event that will buy me my watch. This is the event that will buy me my this, that, and the other. And so that you are focused enough to get it done. He says, if you don't plan it properly, you won't get it done. I just thought to mention that from that picture, looking at that right there.
So was this awards night videoed?
It must have been, but it was. But I'm sure we can find the video somewhere. I just haven't I haven't asked the right people, right? I should do that.
And how long are we talking about? When was this?
This was October, November last year, 2019.
Oh, wow.
It was 31st October, I think, to 2nd November. So we're together three and a half days. Yeah.
And you're wearing your famous green dress,
Oh,
one of the many thousands.
Yeah.
All right.
Please.
So, do you want me to keep the picture up there?
I don't mind. I don't mind
Okay.
at all. Maybe
All right.
the other picture now. The other picture.
Okay. That one's beautiful as well. So this is the same night, right?
It was maybe the next night. Maybe the night of the next night,
right? Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But the same event. Yes.
Okay. Good.
So,
all right. Well, look, I'll just monitor these. I'll get out of the camera and I'll monitor the. We've already got quite a few comments. So
okay. I don't mind you being right here, though. It's fine. I don't mind at all.
All right. Okay.
RDJ was such a fantastic dresser. He was dapper and sartorial in his own words. He says, you ought to be sartorial. So he was never really caught off guard in how he dressed himself. So how did I meet him? May 2019, I got a phone call. It was, I see the comment there saying that was 30th October 2019. May 2019, I got a phone call. This was exactly about 10 days after I had looked at his website. Someone had made me go look at his website and get to know more about him. I had just heard of his name before that once or twice. But then I went to his site, I looked around, I downloaded a few scripts. And then I got this strange call that day. And he says, oh, my name is Richmond Dayo Johnson. Also, you could call me RDJ. And I go, I know you. I was on your site the other day. And okay, so what do I owe this call? And he said, okay, I just got to know about you or know of you recently. And I checked you out and I liked what I saw. And I said, you should be somebody in my space. And so here I am calling you. I was like, what? You called me just because you want me in your space. Who does that, right? Normally it's the other way around. I'm the one who should have sent him a message to say, oh, I admire you. You're my mentor from a distance. Blah, blah. But he said, no, I'm taking you under my wing. As simple as that. That's RDJ. He sees and he gets in there. He's in your face. He doesn't just let things happen. He's so intentional. And that's how he called me from time to time. I met up with him in Ikeja. He was in Lagos at the time. He directed me to the hotel where I stayed, and he stayed in my space. He would correct me, guide me, give me tips on how to negotiate for higher fees, cautioned me against certain nuances to look out for. He did all of that, and he never asked for anything in return besides my growth and my excelling. That's it. He never asked for anything. So because I knew it was going to be his birthday this July, I had wanted to send him a gift. I didn't know what to get. Sometimes you don't know what to get for someone who's larger than life. One of those days we were having a video call. We spoke every day for about 3.5 weeks before he passed. Every single day we spoke, even if it was just for a moment we spoke. He knew all the businesses I was trying to set up, the products I was trying to sell. He knew everything I was trying to do, and he would guide me accordingly. The courses I wanted to take, he would guide me and say, okay, I think you should go to this school. I think you should talk to this person. He was now my go-to. I want to do something. Okay, let me see what RDJ has to say about this. And so he commented on my light and the fact that my light gives me a warm glow, just like this. You see the difference between this now and this. And he says, I like this warm glow you have whenever you use your light. What kind of light is that? And I showed him, and I said, oh, this is good, this is good. And I said, oh, I call him Papi. And I said, Papi, once in a while I call him Father. I said, please allow me send this to you as your birthday gift. Don't buy it, please. And he was like, oh my goodness, no. But thankfully he let me, and that light was delivered to him maybe a week before. Now I wish I could have done more, but no regret. I'm honored to have known such a great man who had such a large heart. He would say wonderful things of his family, his wife. He talked about his wife and his children all the time, and how blessed he was to have them, and how important it was to have a stable home and a stable family. Let me stop here. RDJ, we love you. We miss you. But we are happy because we know where you are. And we know all that you left here for us. Pete, thank you so much for this privilege.
My pleasure. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm giving you a round of applause of thank you there. That's lovely. Well, Joyce, there's been a lot of comments here, so I'll let you read them. I think the Facebook kind of live thing was gone, and they're sending me a message to say that it could be Facebook's problem. So hopefully it's Facebook's problem, but it is on YouTube Live. So if you're trying to, I've just put the link on there. So apologies about that for the Facebook people, but at least we're getting a recording of it, and you might be able to watch it later. So thanks, Joyce. So you're going to stay for the Q&A, yeah? Okay,
yes, I will.
Okay. Now, okay, we have Richmond, and we've got an R there. Here he is. How are you, mate? And
I'm very good to you.
Well, you were also mentored by RDJ, but in a most unusual way. And you were a contestant on a TV show called The Debaters, where RDJ was a judge. And you told me from that public speaking advice that he gave you on that show, you went on to become one of the busiest corporate MCs in Africa, and you're specialising in a very lucrative career, or a very lucrative industry called the oil and gas industry. And so I'm really interested to know what was the advice that RDJ gave you from that reality show, The Debaters. But before I do that, let's just see you in action here. I love this photograph. Look at you here with so many microphones. You're looking good. You're looking good, but you've got kind of one microphone going one way and all the other microphones going the other. This is a challenge for an MC, right?
It is indeed, Pete. It is indeed a huge challenge for most MCs when you have to deal with journalists and press people. You can understand that they're trying to get clarity for their audios, but then they inconvenience you and your speakers. It is quite sometimes an interesting bit, if you ask me, to get them to adjust it one way or another. But hey, it is interesting.
Right, but can those microphones pick up your voice? They must have, they must be very sensitive because you're the ones pointing directly at you. That's a good mic, but the other ones, I don't know. Are they? And they've all got these flags on them.
Okay, so the one that is directly facing me is the mic, the event microphone. It's the one that I'm using with the other speakers. The other ones that you're looking at are from the press people, the journalists, especially from TV houses. The logos you're seeing there are those of the different TV stations that have come to attend the event. And most of them, I can see the other one on white as well. Most of them TV stations here in Nigeria. Yeah, they can pick my voice, but as I said, it is for the TV station's camera. It is not for the event itself.
Right. Well, talking about events, there's another photograph of you looking extremely dapper. This is a beautiful jacket. Again, another African presenter looking absolutely immaculate. And I love that jacket. I nearly bought a jacket like this, and it was too expensive. I remember when I first started off my MC career, I saw it. It was like a Valentino jacket or a Armani jacket, and it was thousands and thousands of dollars, and I just couldn't afford it. But that is really superb. Where do you remember where this was taken? This photograph?
Okay, this was at an event. So I emceed this conference for a client. The client is an organization in the oil and gas, an organization of earth scientists, professionals in the oil and gas industry. It's called the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists. So I emceed this week-long event for them, and this was the very last day of the event. It was an awards night. And part of the challenge of emceeing events that span over days, and you're the person, the MC that is emceeing it all, is whenever there's an evening function, you want to come out and be different from the person you were in the morning that had seen during the technical sessions. So you just need to put on your A game, bring out the RDJ in you. These are the things we learn from RDJ. I mean, here's Mr. Debonair himself, or he was Mr. Debonair himself. This is some of the things that he taught us while we were on the show, the debaters. So yeah. So you bring out RDJ in you on an evening like that, looking dapper, as he would say.
Right. Okay. That's terrific. All right. Well, look, I won't. I'm not sharing. I'll leave you to just talk about your memories and especially that advice that he did give you that's taken your career to the next level. And I guess also the benefit and the power of having a mentor is extraordinary, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Joy, I envy you right now. You've got these pictures with RDJ. When Pete asked me if I had a picture with RDJ, I said no. It dawned on me that I had known RDJ for about 11 years. I didn't have the privilege of sharing stage with him in the years that I knew him. Sharing stage with him as MC, let's say it. But on the debaters, it was quite an experience. So meeting RDJ is an experience I would never forget. We had gone on this show, it was called The Debaters, put together by Mo Abudu's Inspire Africa. Tense we were, I think on that show, that season, there were 14 of us, 5 were ladies, the other were gentlemen. So we arrived at the studio that morning on the very first day of the show. I can't recall, but I remember that I can't recall why we all went, the gentlemen, we went to the restroom either to, I think I remember, either to adjust our ties, or some went to use the loo. I mean, one thing or another. So we're there, we were just having a chat, having come from the Talk Academy to the studio. And this gentleman, very well dressed, walked into the restroom, went and did his thing, and came back where we're standing as if in a circle, a bit away from the main restroom. He didn't say a word to any one of us. He just went about, he will adjust the handkerchief or pocket square, whatever you call it, that is on your jacket. He will adjust your tie. He will adjust your belt. He will adjust your jacket. And he got to one of us and he turned to all of us and he said, this is how a gentleman should look. A gentleman's tie must touch the buckle of his belt. He is well dressed. He was referring to one of us, the talkmate dummy. And that began our story with RDJ. He did all of that and he walked away from where we were, of course. And then we began to ask ourselves, who's this man? One of us said he might be one of the judges because we didn't know who our judges were until we got to the studio for the very first debate. So it started, and I remember that, and I say this many a times without being ashamed or anything, and that's why I'm very thankful to the likes of RDJ and the many wonderful people I met on the set of the debaters. My English, my diction was quite poor before the debaters. Now you will hear me say things, you see now I'm pronouncing things as things. Before the debaters, I will say things, I will say that. Nigerians who are on this call will understand what I'm saying. I'm sure Joyce understands this as well. So I would speak English like that. And I thought at the time that I was one of the most critiqued debater on the show. And RTJ says to me, at the height of my frustration, because I would say a lot of the other talkmates will make the same mistake that I make, and they seem to sort of just slip through the holes. But one of our coaches, Leike, said to me that, you see, you have a voice that is quite clear, sharp and loud, and many of them, when you make a mistake, many of the judges wouldn't let you pass. So it was RDJ who said to me, he said, Richmond, normally I would say, I said this for those who were on the webinar last time, I would pronounce my name as Richmond before the debaters and during the debaters. So the first time I went on the microphone and introduced myself as Richmond Usuji, and he said, Richmond? The name is Richmond. You've got to put a class to the name. And then he said, you're always dropping your fricatives. I never knew that the thou and the thy sounds were actually called fricatives. And then he says to me, you're always dropping your fricatives. And to the advice, he says, you have the presence of a diplomat on stage. You have the charisma of a fine speaker. But if your diction is not good, many would not listen to you. Richmond, work on your diction. And so what I did next, I as a Christian, I'm a Christian, a proud Jesus lover, right? I went into the house that day and I took my King James version of the Bible. And everyone who knows King James will know that King James has a lot of thy, thou, thine. And I would go read all the thy, thou sounds in words in the King James version of the Bible. And I remember one day I was going up and down the stairs of the house where we were camped, and I was saying thy, thou, and I was doing all of those things. And one of my talkmates says to me, hey, listen, it's just a show, relax. And I said to her, to you it's just a show, to me it's life. I'm coming here to improve, on who I am and what I would be coming out of the show. The other advice he gave me, something I also mentioned, and I'm glad I mentioned this to him, and Joyce, I've called you to thank you for that opportunity to share stage with him. And by the way, let me say this, I've told Joyce this. When Joyce called me for the new normal webinar, I had scheduled, I have two other events scheduled for that weekend. So I said to her, maybe not, I may. And she was like, okay, just jump in for the Q&A, Then I looked at the lineup of speakers that she's put together. RDJ, of course, has been always a mentor. I saw quite a number of other persons whom I either have heard of, read about on there. But reluctantly, I said, okay, I'll make the sacrifice. I'll sacrifice one of the things that I needed to do that Sunday to give time and attention to the 2 hours Joyce had planned the webinar to take place. And I came on the webinar. So I'm super grateful that I had that last moment with our DJ. So after the debaters, I went to meet him at, can I remember where now in Lagos? It was somewhere in Lagos. I went with Temiloluwa, a friend and a fellow talkmate. And I went to him, I went to him with 2 things. One was I said to him, on the show, you were described as an accomplished master of ceremonies. I want to be able to be addressed as an accomplished master of ceremonies in the next 10 years. And he hushed me and he said, no, you're belittling yourself. If you work at it, you could be addressed as that in less than 5 years, Richmond. I told you, you have all it takes. And then I also said to him, I used to work for an insurance company before the show. And after the show, I decided to go into emceeing full time. So I said to him, I want to do emceeing full time. By the way, before this meeting, he had always wanted me to attend the Toastmasters meeting. But I was so broke at this point in my life that getting together the transportation to go to the Toastmasters meeting that I wanted to go to, the one that he was going to, that was quite far from where I lived at the time, said to me, get a Toastmaster. There was no Toastmasters meeting close. So it was quite a struggle. And he wasn't happy, to be honest, that I wasn't responding or yielding to the advice of taking up a Toastmasters membership. So I said to him that I want to start emceeing full time. And he says to me, you need to look for something else you'll also be doing. You can't expect this to carry you full time. To be honest, and I'm glad I said this to him, I was a bit upset. He said that to me because I was thinking he would tell me, do this, do that, go for it. He was a master of ceremonies amongst many other things that he did, of course. So I left there challenged, inspired by the counsel he had given me, challenged by the things that he had said to me about looking for so many other things I could do to support my emceeing. And as the years went by, I realized why he gave me the advice. For instance, when Ebola hits West Africa, because I MC mostly for the oil and gas industry, there were lots and lots of cancellations of events, postponements, and then I suffered my, I wanted to say somewhere, it was really heavy. The slump in my finances, the slump rather in my finances were quite heavy. I lost a lot of income from the fact of those postponements, and then his advice came back to mind again. Juxtapose that with today, which even has more severe lockdowns and restrictions, speaking of the COVID-19, I'm not feeling the impact. For instance, a client called me up and said, hey, we have this conference, it's going to be online. We want you to come MC it. And I gave her my fee. And she said, no, that's too much. I was thinking we're going to be helping you. We'll be helping you with this event. So in her mind, is a client I've been emceeing for, for real life events. In her mind, she was thinking, okay, Richmond has been down and out all this month. He will need some money. And I'm like, nah, thank you for your concern. She voiced it. And I'm like, thank you for your concern. However, this is my fee. If you think I'm worth it, that's fine. It's not anywhere close to what we charge for physical events. If you're a young MC listening to me, it's not anywhere close. Trust me, we discussed that. Alibaba discussed that in the New Normal webinar last time. So why am I sharing this? If I didn't take that advice to heart when I did, it wasn't immediate, but I did eventually, and began to look for alternative sources of income. Probably when somebody calls me out to say they're offering me a peanut amount of money, I would grab it so I could put food on my family's table. So RDJ, it's yesterday we had a Zoom meeting, myself and the talkmate on the debaters, to honor him. We had a meeting, and a lot of glowing tributes that came from my talkmate. Some described him as the touch that has lit our lives. Many saw him as Joyce said. He was always he's a man with so much. He was with so much class. And then there's this word he introduced to us on the show Debaters. I can't remember what it was I said. As I told you, my diction was quite bad. I can't remember what it was I said. And he said that I have just caused a discombobulation. He knew he had, his vocabulary was so rich, yet when it's time to communicate with people, he communicated with you at the level you'll understand him. He communicated with you at the level where it will make impact and meaning to you. He was not one to just speak to show you that, oh, I am our DJ, I can speak English, I have very, my library of vocabularies is so rich, I can pull out any big word anytime to impress you. He was not known to try to impress you. Whatever you saw of RDJ was RDJ. It was him. His dress sense, his etiquette. He was so big on etiquette. My goodness, he taught it so well. So for me, RDJ, I wouldn't say he will be missed. I would say RDJ lived a fulfilled life. On the webinar yesterday, I thanked immensely. He would say to me, Mrs. Richmond Johnson of Netherine. Speaking of his wife, he always described her like that to me. So on the webinar, I did thank her immensely. I want to also thank her here again. I understand Daniel is on the call. I want to say thank you to the Johnson family for the gift of RDJ. Yes, he was RDJ before he brought the children into the world, but you all supported. For instance, he made a huge sacrifice of leaving his family in London to spend time with us on the Debaters. He was not just a judge on the Debaters. He was a father figure. He was a role model. He didn't critique you or correct you with the intent to ridicule you or belittle you. He did all of that. Yes. Oh, yes. This is the Debaters. This is the Debaters. So memories. Thank you, Pete. So on the left there, you have the producer of the show, Owolabi. Odeshola is the gentleman on the left. To Owolabi's immediate left is one of the judges, Remy Abere, and of course, the great late RDJ, and Professor Karen King Aribisala, the author judge as well. I heard the story yesterday from the director of the show, Amici. So Amici said that when they were ready to roll the Debaters, it turned out that one of the judges dropped off, and then they were running around looking for where to get a third judge. And then RDJ, they asked him, and he said, I know someone you can get. And they asked him, is this person good? And he said, this person is better than me. And Amici, the director, said he was shocked personally. He thought, this man with so much class, so much finesse, so much style, would say someone is better than him. The person he was referring to was Remy Abere, the lady to his immediate right. Remy is great. I mean, Remy is great. But the fact that RDJ is humble enough to tell you that someone is great as him or even better than him, that tells you the attention you need to pay when it comes to humility. I never said this to him. I don't recall I ever said this to him, but Adija, I loved you. I still do. I cherish the memories that I had the privilege of sharing with you. Thank you for accepting to be one of our judges. Thank you for taking us under your wing. Every time I called you, you were there to say, to guide, to give advice, to correct. You would send me, WhatsApp messages on I think I'll stop for now. I'll stop for now.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm giving you an applause from here, and everybody is. That's terrific, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And you'll be around for the Q&A, yeah? Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So now, isn't that a lovely picture? I adore that picture. That's just a great. It's got so much warmth and feeling to it. I really love this one. But now we're going to go our another picture of in action, and our third presenter tonight, who was also on the New Normal seminar 2 weeks ago, is an American living in Ireland, where she writes a weekly business leadership column called The Communicator. And this is a very appropriate title, because what you're about to witness is someone with world-class communication skills, I can tell you. Check out her website. It is awesome. It's just one of the best I've ever seen in my life. She has the ability, this is a strong ability, to get executives of the big companies to connect and engage with their employees, connect and engage with the board of directors, and then connect and engage with themselves in a positive way. So that's a huge task, and it takes enormous skill to do that. So she walks the talks with motivational keynote speeches that have helped earn her an Emmy Award as an anchor and a correspondent with CNN. So we're talking absolutely top class here. So Gina London, welcome to this tribute to your mentor, RDJ. I'm just going to bring you up here. Where can I do this here? Hello, my mouse has gone all funny here. Hang on. Where are we? Oh, we're over here. Hang on. Here we go. I'm going to add you. There you are. Hello. Thank you. And you're in Ireland at the moment? Can I hear you? Oh, hang on. I've just. There you go. That's better. You're in Ireland?
Yes, I am. And good evening, good morning, depending on where you are, to all the people who knew and loved or have heard of and were impacted in some way by RDJ. And thank you, Pete, for hosting this. It was incredible to hear Joyce's reflections and Richmond's reminiscences, his description of RDJ as someone who took time and continued and to give of himself. Even in the men's room, he would help straighten someone's tie. That is the RDJ that I met and I laughed with, and you can see in that photo right there.
You're not speaking from experience, I'm sure, that one. But
no, but we had plenty of, we had incredible, as you see in that photo, that was, I think, in 2015.
This is a great photo. I really like this photo. It's just
the two gentlemen on the far side, Ayo Owaduni, and then Ayola Jolayemi, I consider, along with RDJ, my first three brothers of Nigeria. When I first landed, that's in the ballroom at the Wheat Baker in Lagos, where RDJ and I, through the facilitation of Ayola and Ayo together, we trained and held workshops for several days right there in the Wheat Baker. And the first time that I met RDJ, and you were describing me very nicely, Pete, about my CNN background and awards and things like that, but I can tell you, I was absolutely blown away and somewhat intimidated by this presence that greeted me in his office at TVC. We went to the TVC studios to meet him that first day before we began our workshops. And he came in, and I can't do the impression the way Richmond did just a moment ago, but he did have that booming voice and jolly good to meet you. And I thought, oh my gosh, who is this bigger than life presence? And initially I thought, oh, he's putting on airs and he's a little sort of this sartorial elegance thing, until you realize that coupled with that elegant presence and that eloquence was a graciousness and a commitment to help others. And I think as I was preparing for this, for one sentence, I kept thinking about RDJ as I got to know him over years, and we can come back to that later, but was that he demanded excellence of himself. And so why wouldn't he encourage and elevate excellence then in others? And that's what I saw consistently. And I realized then over time that this wasn't a man putting on airs. This is a man who worked hard to develop, just like Richmond was saying, to develop his elocution, to identify ways that he could develop his authority. RDJ often talked, as we trained eventually throughout Nigeria, in Abuja and Benin City and Port Harcourt, RDJ always talked about the ABCs, your appearance, your behavior, and your communication, and the way those are integrated. And I have adopted and adapted that into my own training with executives.
Sorry, what was that? The A was attitude?
A, B, C. No, the A is appearance. We are judged by how we look. And you were commenting so nicely about how so many Nigerian presenters and MCs look so sharp? Well, taking ownership and responsibility of that was a tenet of RDJ. And then the next thing was the behavior. And one of the things that we got to do, I got to watch him, and I still remember elements of this. He gave professional dining courses. How to handle all the different glassware or the cutlery that might be out at a professional business event. To not
I need that. I need that.
Here's one of his favorite things he used to say when you sit down at a table and you have all those glasses and you're sitting in maybe a circle of other people at a big table event, and there's someone else next to you and they've got a little plate with a little roll on it, and there's a glass, and there might even be a glass of wine. How do you know which one's yours, and how do you remember which one's theirs, so that you're not making a mistake that you'll be embarrassed about, especially if you're really trying to make a big an impression. Well, he said, and I even told my 12-year-old daughter this one when he says, think about your favorite car, BMW, bread on the left, meal in the middle, water or wine on the right as you're looking at the plate. And I love that. RDJ.
One more. I like it. No, but I mean, my grandmother always said to me, because I wasn't the smartest kid in the school by a long shot, and I think she realised that. And she said, Peter, being honest with you, you're going to need manners. You're really going to need manners to get on in this world, because you're not going to be a scientist or an astronaut or a doctor or anything, a lawyer or anything like that. So, and she really took it as her personal choice to school me in manners, and it really helped me a lot. Well, I took respect for that, you know.
And that's great that you mentioned your grandmother, because I think you and I, Pete, were speaking on the phone before, or on WhatsApp, through WhatsApp before we got together today, and I was saying that one of the people that I heard him speak, and I wish I could think of her memory right now, but I can't, but he spoke so highly and so consistently about his own grandmother and the impact that she had on his own life. And I think a lot of these, so many people impact us. And Richmond said just a moment ago that oh, it's just a show. Well, life is a show. This show that we're in is life. And I was watching RDJ just 2 weeks ago today, as he was presenting, and as you said, his final public words, that what you do for yourself goes with you to the grave, and what you do for others lives on forever. And as he was presenting, and I thought, this was an event that everybody did for free. It was, I almost said no to it, because RDJ had asked. I said, well, I'm only doing events where I'm getting paid right now because I'm so whatever. And then I thought, what, it's RDJ, and I'm going to do this. And not only was I blown away by yourself and Joyce and Richmond and all the other incredible speakers and the great participation we had from the people, but as I was watching this man, who I'm very impressed with. I was impressed with and continue to be impressed with. And I watched him speak, and his cadence and his care and the compassion that was coming through. I thought, he knows this life is the show, and that he never doesn't bring his A game. And the way that he demands excellence continually of himself was a reminder to me that we never don't bring our A game, that we are in the moment and we're mindful, and we are recommitting all the time to our appearance, our behavior, and our communications. And you and I was talking about this too, Pete, the idea of being LLL, lifelong learners. RDJ was certainly that. And when Richmond said that he recommended someone who was better than him, that is the heart of RDJ, of being someone who elevates others around you and who wants other people to succeed, because he understood the power of the lasting impact. He made such an impact in me in so many ways, and I'm so grateful that you, Pete, took it on yourself as someone who didn't work with him but was impacted by him in a short amount of time to coordinate this for all of us, because this is a labor of love from each of us, because he really did impact our lives. And we hope, I hope, that by sharing things that I learned from him and the impact he had, I can therefore go and impact others and multiply that positivity and that powerful impact that he had.
I'm sure he would agree with that saying, "A rising tide lifts all ships," and you understand that you bring your brothers up, you bring brothers and sisters up, and it brings you up as well, and I actually experienced it when I joined the National Speakers Association of Australia, and there's the speaking associations around the world. I highly recommend everybody to join it, because often you'll find people like RDJ there ready to lift you up and make the rising tide lift together. And that was a beautiful thing for me to experience. And I think that that's how I got my mentor. And he said to me, if you're mentored, you're obliged to mentor others and pass it on. And I think that's, we're living with that now.
And I think, thanks, Pete, I agree. And I think the commitment to relationships was another tenet of RDJ's. And as Joyce was talking, and as Richmond was talking, and you were talking, I mean, he was texting people the very next morning. He was still committed to following up. And that's one of the things I really took away from him as we went on our, as he called it, speaking circuit back in 2016, when we went to all the different major towns and trained and worked and workshopped with tens of thousands of incredible people around Nigeria during that time. And his Rolodex, if you will, old-fashioned term for his phone, with all these different names of people that he would meet, and he would put them in right away, and he'd reach out to them. And really? I've heard from so many people, Iola and Io, for example. Iola was the first person who called me that Monday, 2 weeks ago, to say that RDJ had tragically and suddenly passed. And Io had said that he'd been called by RDJ's son, and that, as everyone has already been saying, his love of his family as we would travel, and his speaking of his family so highly all the time, also really resonated with me in terms of his commitment. But the fact that he's texting, and I've got my phone right here because I wanted to share, the last thing that he texted me on Monday morning was, "Welcome again to a new dawn of endless possibilities with many reasons to be cheerful." And then he has these lovely little champagne glasses clinking, because RDJ was fond of a drop of an elegant wine, as was I. And we had a lovely couple of times together as we were traveling around, where we'd clink our glasses and we'd talk about the day and the different people that we'd worked with and what it meant and what we'd hoped for each other. And one day we had said that we would co-author a book together. And I'm very sorry that didn't happen. And it's a reminder to me too, that why I'm so glad that we're doing this celebration of his life event today, is that if you think of something that you want to do, Joyce, you did that great new normal event that we were all a part of. If we think of something, if we can really grab onto executing an idea and getting it done, that's another recommitment that I'm making as I watched RDJ 2 weeks ago, as he continued to commit to the very end to give of himself to others.
Thank you so much for that, Gina. When you said that, it reminded me of his email signature. Do you know his email signature is, "At the end of our lives, we do not regret the things at which we failed. We regret the things we wished for but never attempted." Yeah. And that's exactly what you were saying. And maybe write the book and he can be your mentor somehow.
I can preview right now for anyone who's on this call, is that I had started, and I do now have an American agent for the book that's currently titled Developing Authenticity. And we've gone through the chapter review, and we're getting ready to do the book pitch to publishers in the next month. And I have told myself, and I will share publicly now to everyone, I will dedicate that book to the memory.
Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. We're giving you a round of applause, Gina, and best wishes for that. Absolutely best wishes. You were supposed to be the third and final presenter but someone's hopped in the green room here, and it's Daniel Johnson. And I'm going to bring Daniel onto the stream. Hello, Daniel. And hello. I'm going to, hey, how are you going? To take it away. I didn't know you were going to be here, and it's so pleasurable for me to welcome you. Tell us, how are things?
Well, good afternoon, good evening to everyone wherever you are in the world. I didn't actually plan on being here either, but after a brief conversation with Joyce a few days ago, I thought I would join just to observe and just to hear everything. But after what's been said, I'd like to firstly thank Joyce, thank you Richmond, and thank you Gina for sharing such wonderful stories and memories of my father, and also thank you Pete for hosting this session. I didn't plan on saying anything in particular, but as to echo everything that's been said, you know, you all saw him as RDJ, you all saw him as the speaker, but he was a very great father. He was the best father I could have ever wished for. He was always encouraging, he was the person I would go to for advice for anything, whether it be work related, in general in life, whatever it may be. He was the person that I would speak to. And as I try and navigate through life, I will remember the many stories and the fond memories we shared together, the examples he didn't necessarily say, but he showed through his actions, and they will live in my heart forever. Something I've started to do since his passing is to write the memories that I recall, so that in years to come, these memories won't fade, but I have something to look back on and to hold on to. Something I said to him, or something I said about him at my wedding, is I would always miss our chats early in the morning. He was an early riser, and sometimes I'd get to work around 7 a.m. and we'll have a quick chat. But something we used to do quite often is to go into London and to walk around Jermyn Street and just have a chat. It was just father and son time. And as I grew older, it was less of me talking and more of me listening to him, just to get that wisdom, to get that knowledge that he would share. And he would always give his unbiased opinion. He would always make me think differently and challenge my thinking. It was only 3 weeks ago today, 3 or 4 weeks ago today, Father's Day. I'd come to see him with my wife, and we were just having a chat, and little did I know that would be the last time I would see him. But I do deeply miss him. We all do in our family. We draw in strength from God, knowing that where he is, he's in paradise. But I'd like to thank you all for joining. I'd like to thank you all for sharing such great, fond memories. Even with the debaters, I remember when that was set. I remember I was at university and he would fly to Lagos and back to London because he wanted to spend time with the family. Even Gina at TVC, I remember even being proud or walking around with him around the offices. He was very public, but also very private. He loved us individually. He loved us collectively. And he loved his granddaughter, which when she was born, I saw a different side to my father. It was one that I really enjoyed seeing. And, he is deeply missed. There's not a moment I go without thinking, but he set an example to not just me, but as I've seen, the impact he had was far greater than the immediate family. And the tributes and things I've seen online, they're quite emotional because he was never boastful about impact or achievements, what he did for things. So it's nice to see that he was a man of purpose, a focused man, and a determined man to make an impact and leave a legacy. And while he's not here physically, I do believe that his legacy shall continue with not just his children and myself, my siblings, but also with those he encountered and had an interaction with on this earth.
That did I'm just going to bring you back there, and Daniel, were you inspired at all to be a public speaker? Did you kind of go and watch him and want to say, I want to be like Dad, or not? Or?
It's funny you asked that, Pete, because when I was much younger, I think not even 10, when he first started to go into Toastmasters, I never knew what Toastmasters was, and the joke I had was, I thought Toastmasters was a place where you became a master at making toast. And we often used to chat about that and laugh until I found out actually what it was.
That's so English, isn't it? How to make toast.
But as I grew up, I did get to see him at speaking engagements. I did some time I would spend in Nigeria. I'd accompany him on talks and engagements. And he was the person that actually inspired me to start joining Toastmasters. And in 2016, I founded the Toastmasters Club at my office at work, and he was very proud. I spoke to him along the way about the challenges and what he helped me navigate what may arise and how to overcome some challenges. But he was very proud, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have joined Toastmasters. I haven't never said I necessarily enjoy public speaking, but with my line of work and just in life, you're always or frequently called upon to speak publicly. So it's something I've had to accept. I can't shy away from. But he has definitely inspired me, and I've learned a few of his tips, especially on how to engage an audience.
Right. And can you give us one of those tips now, off the top of your head?
So there have been many examples. So I could be holding some money, a £20 note, and it could be that you hold it up in the air, you ask the audience, who wants this? People raise their hands. Then you ask, who really wants this? People still raise their hands until someone gets up and comes to you and meets you on the stage and takes it off your hand. And his example was, in life, if you want something, you have to take action.
Did you get the £20 back?
No, I gave it to the person to keep it, because actually at that time I went to my previous university to speak, and at the end the person came back to me, oh, here's your £20. I said, no, it's for you to keep.
Good on you. All right, well, stay there, Daniel. I'm going to bring back everybody onto the stream, and so we can all kind of talk together and ask any questions. I think everyone there, Joyce is, Joyce is unmuted there, and I think, yeah, good. Okay, so look, guys. You've got Daniel here, and ask any questions. I'm reading the comments here, and they're all appreciating what everyone said. But yeah, fire away. Ask Daniel any questions you'd like about his father.
Yeah. If I could jump in and add one to what Daniel had just said, because I saw our DJ do that with the 20 or the whatever Naira note it would have been at the time when I was with him in Nigeria, and then he would do a follow-up sometimes to that, which was the lesson about you got to take action. Then he would find the tiniest little girl in the audience or woman, what have you, and he would take another bill and he'd tape it up to the really high part of the wall in the room, and he would say, okay, now get that, and she'd get a chair, and she'd eventually have to get someone to help her get and say, sometimes you have to take action and you need help of others. And he always had a great icebreaker, a great way of getting people to think differently, like you said, Daniel. And I mean, what a difficult time to meet you, but what a privilege it is to meet you and hear you say, as someone who knew him better than any of us, that he impacted you and his life was an example. That really, really touches me. And as a mom myself, no better statement than from your own child to say what a positive impact you were. So thank you. Lovely to meet you.
I've got to say, Daniel, you do have the voice of your father. He had one of the most magnificent speaking voices I've ever heard in my life, and you do have the resonance and the timbre the same. So, nice one.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm just so honored that you accepted our invitation. And Pete, thank you for asking and saying Daniel should be here with us. I didn't think about that. Thank you, Pete. Thank you. I know our DJ, well, I don't know how it works, but I'm hoping he's listening in and smiling and saying, Joyce, speak the correct term. He lives in all of us, and we're happy. And I'm so glad to know that Toastmasters is not that place you go to learn how to propose toast.
He was a Toastmasters champion. Is that correct? He rose very high in Toastmasters?
Yes, he became area director. I recall, yes. Okay. And I did enter a few competitions, and I was quite successful in the area division, and he was very proud.
Yeah, it's a magnificent association. It really is great, and congratulations for that.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody. I think we've covered nearly everything here, and it's been a great celebration of his life. And I thank all the comments. I'm certainly going to watch this video again, and it will be a testimony for many generations to come to hear about this magnificent man, known just by 3 initials, RDJ. But thanks everybody for contributing.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say farewell and good night, and we'll see you online again. Bye for now.
Thank you.
See you. See you now.
Bye.
Bye.